A throwback to the style of the early 90s quarter muncher arcade days, combining heavy guitar rock and intense action, but in a standard very short experience. Are you braced for Steel Assault? Nothing super special about my personal introduction to this game. Seeing it being plugged on Twitter, I had an interest in playing it. Once I did decide to play it on stream, we had a good amount of entertainment, getting through the entirety of normal mode in like 20 or 30 minutes. It's not a long game, nor is it particularly expensive, but let's talk about some of the nuance that might have you going back for a few more playthroughs. Graphically, the pixel art hovers between a really fancy 16-bit game and a less complex-looking arcade game. Pixel sprites are detailed and well-animated, despite having some fairly harsh outlines to easily pick yourself out or your enemies from a crowd. Backgrounds have plenty of fun details, considering the game takes place in the futuristic ruins of the United States. The first stage will include mentions of the Smithsonian, and you start the stage by watching your plane smash into an already ruined Capitol building in the background, illustrating that you're in the ruins of Washington, D.C. A later stage has you running through the ruins of New York City and Times Square, with still active billboards that are not only advertising futuristic products and shows, but even political ads for the game's main villain, showcasing that he was a tech mogul that rose to militaristic power sometime before the events of the game. It's fantastic visual storytelling, even if there's more than a few cutscenes and dialogue sections that hone into what your main mission is. Music is a fun blend of intense chiptune and guitar rock, with notable themes being the first boss fight and Stage 4's music. I think most would agree on the latter, considering it's also the song that they used in the game's promo trailer. It's pretty possible to have that intensity dampered a bit, considering that the game's sounds are a bit on the heavy side. There's lots of explosion effects and gunfire, your character will let out an audible grunt of exertion with every attack, and some enemies are real screamers upon their deaths. Another cool touch is that the chime and voice clip playing upon entering the DC Metro at the end of Stage 1 is, according to a viewer on stream, the actual announcement from the actual DC Metro, which is a nice touch of realism from a weebtacular cyber-apocalypse game.
Doors opening. Step back to allow customers to exit. When boarding, please move to the center of the car.
The game interestingly combines the action of games like Contra and Metal Slug with attacks that'll feel more in line with Castlevania. Well, entirely in the fact that your main attack is an electric whip with a limited but still fairly impressive range. Secondary to the game is a grappling hook that you'll use to traverse some trickier platform sections. I was concerned initially that the game was going to be a bit more unfair with these sections, similar to the suitless rope swing sections of Panzer Paladin, but with the exception of a couple set pieces that I found more frustrating than they were daunting, it's not used as a constantly required traversal ability nearly as often as you'd think. There were plenty of sections where good timing with the rope would make things quicker, but not necessary to progress. The difficulty is interesting enough, but it's on a very, very strange curve. Normal mode is what the game outright suggests that you would start playing on, and in all reality, I found it a bit easy with the exception of certain boss fights, at least until I got their mechanics down. The game is overly generous with its health, as it not only drops from boxes that you'll find in the stages, but will also refresh to full upon every scene transition, which seemed more than a little weird. After my first run through, I tried out all the other difficulty modes, and I was able to sort them out as follows. Very easy is aptly named. You're given 2 full health bars instead of the usual 1. Bosses and enemies have reduced health. Your health refills at every checkpoint, and you'll respawn at the beginning of any stage section if you end up dying. Easy mode contains everything that very easy does, except you'll have your usual 1 health bar. Normal mode contains everything easy does, except the enemies and bosses are at full health and strength. You might also encounter new phases or attacks that weren't present in the easier modes. Expert mode will do away with the health refills at every scene transition, so you can only restore health with the power-up. Expert also has every enemy deal double the damage that they would previously. Any death in Expert mode will force you to start the entire stage over again, instead of just that section. Arcade mode is just Expert mode, but you can't save your game. The jump in difficulty between normal and expert is absurd. I feel like something in normal needs to be made harder, or something in expert needs to be made easier. Non-refreshing health is punishing enough, but understandable. But double damage and being forced to start the stage over seems like a bridge too far. That's extreme even for a quarter muncher. Honestly, I think choosing between doing away with the health refresh in normal, or removing double damage in expert, would be all that would be required to make normal mode feel like it's properly escalating into the challenge of expert. Because despite breezing through the game's entirety multiple times on stream, the minute I tried expert and could barely reach the second section of stage 2, I knew it wasn't a mode that I'd be interested in trying to play. And who the hell is the kind of time commitment required for that no-save arcade mode anyway? It doesn't seem like the game offers any more rewards for finishing a game on any difficulty level. So people just looking to beat down some robots should have a blast. And I'm certain there's more than a few players willing to give the expert mode a challenge, currently balking at the idea that I would suggest removing double damage penalties, but regardless of how you want to play it, I'll easily give this a go recommendation. It's a fantastic style with great music and action that probably won't end up taking over your entire week. But you can knock that down to a caution plus if you think the length is far too short, and you can't see yourself giving it more than a single run-through.